Um, Minister Louis Farrakhan is here from Chicago, and I'm sure everyone is anxious to hear him speak. Can everyone hear me? Can you hear me now? All right. Before Minister Farrakhan speaks, we'd like to present him with this plaque that was purchased by the United Black Student Organization. Ms. Farrakhan, okay. I'd like to read to you what the inscription says. Presented to Mr. Louis Farrakhan, National Representative of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, in appreciation for all of the years of dedicated service and love shown by you for the upliftment of black people here in America, from the United Black Students of FIU.
Thank you. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, the one God to whom all praise is due, the Lord of the worlds, the great God who was to come and indeed has come to seek and to save that which was lost. And if we search the pages of Scripture and the pages of history, we will not be able to find any person or persons more fitting that biblical description of the lost sheep or the lost people than the black man and woman of America, who have not only been lost from our native land and people for a little over 400 years, but we have been lost to the nature and the power of our own being, robbed of our names, language, culture, religion, God, history, identity, culture, flag, country, and then spoiled and turned into a new people that no black people on the earth can easily identify with except by color. The Bible refers to us as lost. We thank Almighty God, Allah, for finding us and for claiming the lost people to be His people. And we thank Him for raising up in our midst a divine leader, teacher, and guide for the black people of America and the world, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the messenger of Allah. I'm happy to greet you, my beloved brothers and sisters, with the greeting words of peace in the Arabic language. We say, Assalamu alaikum. And I see most of you know those words. But to those of you who don't, they simply mean peace be unto you. To Sister Aisha and the United Black Students of Florida International University, to the members of the faculty, and to the students, I look upon it as a very great honor to have the opportunity to stand before you this evening. I understand historically that there's not much participation from black students. I hope that in the future we can change that. But the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, in his writings, said that from a few comes a great nation. And in a section of the Quran, it is titled, "Success does not depend on numbers." And no matter how few we are, if we are committed to the liberation of our people, if we are committed to freedom, justice, and equality for our people, then we must remember that a few people committed ultimately move the masses to commitment, and a new idea and a new revolutionary concept is born. Jesus had but a few. Prophet Muhammad had but a few. Socrates had but a few. So it's not the quantity, but rather the quality of those who lend their ears, not necessarily to agree, but who lend their ears to at least reason with a new idea, or at least reason with truth, that we may come to understanding and thereby come to some accord and agreement as to what we shall do for the future of ourselves and our people. Florida International University is a very good setting for this lecture that I'm about to give by the help of Allah. To be in a school that has black students from the United States, black students from Haiti and the Caribbean, to be in a school where there are people from Africa, Spanish-speaking students from Central and South America, Arab students from the Middle East. I haven't seen any Asian students yet, but I imagine there may be some in this school. This is a very good environment for you, my dear brothers and sisters, to get your education in, because it exposes you to other cultures, other ideas, other languages, and it exposes you to young people who tomorrow may be the leaders of their countries as you come into power in this one. No, I didn't make a mistake. It is good that black people from all over the world sit down and break bread together. It is good that a university of this type is set up in Miami, which is fast becoming an international city, which opens her port to Central South America and the Caribbean. And if we are not understanding of the culture, the languages, the politics of the peoples of the Caribbean, the peoples of Central and South America, we cannot form necessary alliances that we will need to break the back of oppression on our people here and on people throughout the world. So it is good that we meet. It is good that we reason. And it is better if we understand. As a student and follower of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, I know that there's much trepidation, putting it mildly, over a Muslim follower of Elijah Muhammad coming to such campus. Many said, you shouldn't bring this fella here. He preaches racial hatred at a time when we are trying to pull together. Or he's a racist. Or some other negative thing. Fine. Whatever I am, the students have a right to be exposed so that they may, with their intelligence, weigh the matter and total the sum and decide for themselves whether I am what you say I am or whether it is your fear of what I may say that might turn on a black student's mind. And in a university setting, it seems to me that we should want the students' minds turned on, not to tell them how to think, but at least to stop them to thinking. Because once you can turn a student's mind on to get that student to think, you don't have to tell him which way to go. A thinking person will generally move in the right direction. The object is to get the person to think. Education in a Western setting is not designed to get black students to think. It's designed to train your mind so that you act and react according to the stimulus of a society and an environment that is alien to your need for freedom, justice, and equality. You are being systematically trained to accept the rule of an enemy and not to question what you are being taught, even though instinct tells you that everything you're being taught is not right and is not useful to black people in their struggle for justice. But as long as you quote back to your teacher what the book says, we can give you an A in quotology. But we have not caused you to think, to question, to reason, to ferret out what is useful to you in the reality of being black in a decadent white world. I hope I didn't say anything wrong. Look, brothers and sisters, you didn't come here to be oblivious to reality. You can't change blackness. I mean, Natanola may lighten it up a little bit. The various processing instruments and chemicals may curl it a little bit. But generally, like all things, it too wants to go back home. So if we are black in America And there is a disrespect for us because of our blackness, but more so because of our ignorance of the knowledge of self and others, then that is a reality that we have to address ourselves to. It seems to me that the learning environment should be an environment that causes the student to look at the factors that make up reality. And whatever factors we don't like in the reality, give us the knowledge to change reality and make it a reality that is pleasing to us, but never send us off on a trip with education as a modern drug. Are you listening? To make you look in the mirror and see something that's really not there. Or make you change the way you talk and the way you walk and make you think you're acceptable. Education should not be a drug to make you think that someday, maybe, somehow, the oppressor will give up the idea of oppression without us maximizing our strength to stop the oppressor from his oppression. We must, in these institutions, extract from the learning process that which will enable us to confront reality and change reality to a reality that is suitable to human existence. And unless you are here being taught and exposed to knowledge that brings the best out of you, to maximize your strengths so that you can, in an adverse world and in an alien society, make your way, then your learning is already in vain. For to give you a diploma or a degree at the end of 4 years, for you to say, I have it now, that you may run around like those before you with a decadent status symbol of a degree that does not qualify you to do anything but go and beg the white man to give you a job, then this education is handicapping you and not adequately preparing you for reality. Are you listening? I'm in Miami. Not Miami, maybe your Miami. And you have witnessed on the rise of Fidel Castro, the exodus of many Cubans who came to this country 20 years ago, broke, and 20 years later they are in control of a large portion of Miami's real estate, economics, and politics. Is that right? You've been here since here was here. You were here before the Mayflower landed. You did not come on the Nina, nor the Pinta, nor the Santa Maria. But here you are, worried now because Haitian refugees are coming in. Cuban refugees are coming in to take the remaining jobs that you feel belong to you. with all of this scholarship and these degrees, and all of the billions of dollars that we extract from the American economy, we have not yet set up a school of our own, factories of our own, international trade of our own, built housing of our own. But we have sat and begged white people to do for us what we are quite capable of doing for ourselves, and then we ask them to respect us as an equal. Come on now. It is impossible for us to get respect being a people who do not produce anything. Oh, brother, I thought that you was going to lay something on white folks. Charity does begin at home now, doesn't it? You know, the easiest thing in the world to do is to blame everybody else. White folks have their share in creating the problem, but they don't have the will to solve it. And if you are waiting for them to solve our problem that they helped to create for us, we're going to be here another few hundred years talking about the Cubans and the Puerto Ricans and the Haitians and everybody else got a break in America, and I want my piece of the pie. You sound like a fool. Why don't you go get the ingredients and make a pie of your own and sit down and eat? No, you're too busy. Doing nothing. And Brother Farrakhan would not be your brother if I came to this institution to stroke you and rub you up and make you feel good and let you go out of here being the same foolish person that you and I might have been before we got here. I love you. And I love for you what I love for myself. And it grieves me to live and see black people in a pitiful condition in the most serious hour in the history of America and the world. It grieves me to see you walking or riding the streets of Miami and the other cities of America not knowing that the hand of God is on the economics of America, slowly bringing her dollar to nothing, slowly bringing her power economically to nothing. And you are sitting around waiting for a people that are losing their grip on the reins of power to prepare a place for you. I say that Florida International University should be preparing all of the international students to face reality. And now I would like to begin a discourse designed to say to whites in this audience, you really don't understand why black people act as they act. Because in order for you to understand why black people act as they act, you're going to have to face the cold, calculated, wicked brutality of your own parents. And sometimes it is disheartening to look in the mirror and see yourself. So when you get to that critical part of history, you gloss that over or cover it up completely because you don't want to face the reality of what has happened to black people in the Western Hemisphere, but more particularly blacks in America. You know, when whites were in the hills and cave sides of Europe, they didn't call our fathers niggers. They didn't have those kind of epithets. When whites were yearning to know more about civilization, history says we had already built it. History says that when they wanted to know more about medicine, we were already doctors. History says when they wanted to know about law, we were already engaged in law and used law to build, govern, and order civilization. History says that when they wanted to know about astronomy, geometry, higher calculus, physics, and chemistry, our fathers already had mastered those things and were teaching it to the Greeks. And the Greeks didn't call your African foreparents niggers. They were too busy learning from your fathers. How is it so different today? How could we be the children of such magnificent civilization builders and not build a home or a community for ourselves? We allow people to build homes for us that would disorient rats. Am I saying anything wrong? We cut, loot, shoot each other every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday night, and don't have a hospital in Miami to take our own sick and wounded to. And if the Caucasian follows the pattern that he's been following around the country, he will start closing down these hospitals that serve black people. And you'll be out there picketing, begging them to open up a hospital while you're throwing away your money at the whiskey store, at the reefer merchant, at the disco, and at the party, and never coming to grips with the reality of your needs until you are confronted with it in a most painful way. Beloved brothers and sisters, this is sobering talk, because we have a problem in America, and in truth and in reality, America will not have any peace. In fact, no nation on the earth is going to have any peace until the black man of America's problem is solved with justice. Now, what do I mean by that? You think you can get peace independent of our problem being solved in America? No, sir. No way. To the brothers and sisters from Palestine, whose land was taken from them and given to Jewish people without their consent, who have been aggrieved for nearly 30 years because of being deprived of a homeland. And the powerful keepers of Israel are right here in the United States of America. So how can your problem be solved in Palestine if ours is not solved in America? Because we represent the leverage that can change things for the third world if we come to power and recognize and maximize our own potential inside this plantation called America. Listen now. Africa yearns to breathe free. Africa has been granted freedom, quote unquote, on a silver platter, and Africa is not free yet as we talk this evening. Is that correct? Why? Because freedom given is not freedom at all. The only freedom that you have is the freedom that you earn. And that freedom is earned through self-development, where you develop so much till the womb that confines you is not able to hold you any longer, and you must burst that womb and come forward. And that coming forward is always with a little blood before and a lot of blood after. America is free because she had the courage to fight against tyranny. Is that right? Come on now. Africa will not be totally free until she is willing to shed the blood that is necessary to become totally free. And to become totally free means that Africa must control her economic resources. And being in control of her own resources, she can control her politics and her destiny. And isn't it interesting that in America, where our fathers were brought to serve as slaves, we have grown up in the house of the world ruler, and there is no branch of science and technology where there is not a black brother or sister who has mastered that branch of science or technology that has enabled the white man to go to the moon, to Mars, and beyond, to develop his vaccines, to develop even the new germ of life. There are blacks involved in all of this experimentation, blacks involved in every advancement, but they're hidden away in corporate America, and you don't know who they are. But they are your brothers and your sisters with that knowledge in their heads, the knowledge that Africa needs, the knowledge that the Caribbean needs, the knowledge that all of our brothers and sisters around the world need, has been nurtured in several of us right here in America. How can you be free if the brothers and sisters who have been trained in every art, in every science, in every field of technology to build a modern world, how can you be free if they don't have a change of direction and a change of heart and see themselves as the natural ally and brother of all struggling dark people around the world? You see? Now, America, I come back to you and, of course, Europe. Europe says and recognizes America as the leader of the free world. And by free, they mean white. Free world. That's true. Put the lights on now. That's right. Everybody all right? Okay. Now, as America is the leader of the free world, Europe and the common market countries are very interested in American politics. Can you see that? They're very concerned about who's going to be the president in this next election. They're not so comfortable with certain policies. Is that right? And certain statements made by certain politicians. So the Western world is looking at America. And if America goes down the tube, the Western world of Europe can't hold up her position. But America is faced now with war on the outside and revolution on the inside. Now, let's look at this. America's own citizenry. And when I say citizenry, I'm really not talking about black people. Black folk are like the Bible's parable of the prodigal son. The black man has left his father's house and has gone into a strange country to try to join himself on to be a citizen in a land that is not his own. The Bible prophecy puts you as one who's attempting to join on to be a citizen. And every time you attempt to be one, white folks let you know, we ain't accepting you. Don't want no niggers. Oh yeah. You with your doctorate, you with your technology and skill, they'll accept you. But even in your halls of learning, they let you know, don't get too uppity. Even in corporate America, they tell you, look, we'll give you a position as vice president over affirmative action. Right. Make sure that the toilets are flushed affirmatively every day. But nigga, don't get happy over your position and get out of your place. White folks are getting tired of you. In fact, not getting, they are tired of you. You know what I mean when they say tired? You know when you get tired of your children? Sometimes you don't mind them playing while you're trying to look at the football game. Pass me the Fritos. Hell, when the Dolphins are about to make one, and the child is about to make one at the same time, you may get a little uptight and say, boy, get on out of here. And put something on his rump to speed him on the way and miss the touchdown. What I'm saying, as white folks see their world closing down, like anything that's going down, you look for any excess baggage to get rid of it. And you are the excess baggage in America, black man. Don't nobody want you. Well, I'll go to Africa. Look, brother, Africa don't want you in the condition that you're in. Africa got enough bums on that side. They don't need 30 million more added to the bums they already got. I'm telling you, brother, this is serious. They want the doctor, they want the lawyer, they want the engineer, they want the teacher. But who wants the pimp? Who wants the dope smoker? Who wants the party mama? Who wants that one that want to stand on the corner and do nothing? Nobody wants you. And if God didn't want you today, brother, you would be the most unwanted. In fact, you already are, even though God wants you. You still unwanted by everybody, even yourself. Now look, brother and sister, nobody's going to change this for us. We have to change this for ourselves. So when I talk about the citizenry of America, I'm really talking about white folks. I know that there are a lot of Cubans here who are citizens. And I know that there are a lot of boat people, Vietnamese, and Cambodians or Kampucheans, coming in every day. But America is like Rome. In the days of Rome's decline, the real Roman soldier didn't want to fight for Rome. So Rome had to import legions from all of the territories she had conquered to make an army to defend a freedom that her own Romans had long ago given up. They were too busy biting grapes and having orgies, plucking the lyre and the harps, going to the sporting arenas. It's not the real American who wants to go to war. The real white American that grew up in America saying, hell no, I won't go. But the Cuban is in the army. The Puerto Rican is in the army. The Vietnamese is in the army. And because you don't have no job, black man, the only job whitey got for you is the U.S. Army, the U.S. Navy, or the U.S. Marine Corps, because his butt is in trouble. Excuse me, I didn't mean to get excited. But in the meantime, while the army is full of black soldiers, male and female, the Navy is full of black sailors, male and female, the Marine Corps full of black Marines, male and female, the Air Force the same, about ready to bleed their lifeblood out on any foreign battlefield, no matter where America and the government directs them, they are ready to go. But at the same time, inside America, our youth walk the street with no hope in them for a better life, filled with drugs, filled with despair, no jobs to earn a little money to make them feel self-worth. We'll hire the women, but to hell with the men. Because when we hire the woman, we can pat on her, we can feel on her, we can go to bed with her. But the black man, we don't want nothing to do with him or have nothing to do for him. The whole society is crushing out the man. Our youth are languishing in prisons across America. It is not because we're criminal, but it's because a society has been criminally negligent in dealing with the problem of justice for black people. So our young men are in jail. And many of you young men here, there is a percentage that says that you will not reach 30 years old, that you will be shot down in the streets of Miami by brute beasts in blue uniform whose only aim is to get a black man and shoot him down, and then go back and tell him we thought he had a gun, or he brandished a knife, or he reached in his pocket, and an all-white jury calls it justifiable homicide. Huh? Now look, America is in trouble because her own young whites and her own intelligent whites are dissatisfied with the political process. Never in an election time have I seen people advertising, white folks advertising how great America is and why everyone should vote. Why are you advertising for people to exercise the right to pull the ballot or pull the lever? Why are you advertising it? Because America has become so disenchanted with politicians and politics and corrupt government, they are pulling back from their own politics, from their own laws, from their own leaders, and they are saying in their own mind, we better prepare for revolution. There are whites that are growing in this country so angry with the government for its weak and corrupt positions that they're saying we must take matters now into our own hands. And whites across this country are privately, secretly, and even overtly preparing for revolution. Oh yes, they are. Even if they didn't have you to shoot down, they're preparing to get rid of their government because they feel that their government has sold out the greatness of America. This is whites talking. You can go in the cafeterias now that they let us go in and get a cup of coffee, and I sit and I listen sometimes. And I even ask questions. What do you think about the election? And I do that to tap them as they tap us. I want to know how you're thinking, white folks. Not that I think you'll tell me, but you may think I'm so dumb you will tell me. You know how? Oh yeah. And a wise man always knows how to play a fool. A fool just don't know how to be nothing but. And you know, I listened to their conversation. Many of them are hot, brother. They're angry as hell. Many of them are bitter. You see the industrial waste problem. They're dumping industrial waste. White folks is drinking water and dying, and the children are dying. They're not getting proper settlements from the government. Many of the soldiers who fought in Korea, who fought in Vietnam, white and black, are back now, and the government has not treated them right. And they are hurt to the very core of their being by their own government. And I have never in my young years heard more white people talking about the wickedness of their own officials till politics has become a joke. And in this backdrop of their anger at the government, and when white folks go home and they can't eat beef every night, they can only have steak once a week now. Hell, that's serious. They say a chicken in every pot. Now the chicken don't find a pot to go in, but there's more pot in the kitchen. Pot in the kitchen. Because everybody have taken the smoking pot just to relieve them of the pressure of seeing their dollar shrink. I hear white folks talking. I can't live in this house anymore. I see them on television. I don't know what we're going to do. My husband lost his job. And he's a white-collar worker. See, white folks now, with their attaché case filled with resumes, going from job to job. You have never seen more ignorant people laughing at the so-called wise. In the schools, there's revolution. People don't want their education no more. They're burning the school buildings. These are signs for the wise. Huh? As inflation goes up, the price of gold over $700 an ounce. Just a few years ago, $35 an ounce. Silver gone up. Everything gone up. Now trouble in the Middle East, Iran and Iraq. America delights in getting those things started, but she don't know how it's going to come out anymore. Now Iraq says, do such and such and so, and we'll have peace tomorrow. And Iran says, no peace. And if nobody jumps in, we got enough to whip Iraq. And we're going to fight on. Because the Iranian people, the Persian people, if you know the whole history of Persia, brother, that's not no little sissified group of people. That's a people that grow up sturdy and hard. They're Caucasian people, all right, but they're people that have grown up fighting. And they hate the Western way. They have robbed them of the right to their Islamic religion and have upset their country and set a Shah in power, overthrew the legitimate government of Muhammad Mossadegh because he was getting ready to nationalize the oil of the British and American petroleum companies. And Dulles, under Eisenhower, arranged a CIA coup to overthrow the Iranian government, shed the people's blood, and under the guise of modernization, set up concrete and steel and robbed the people of the value of their religion. Now, after all these years of pain, they're angry with America. And America don't know how to handle a man that says, La ilaha illallah Muhammadan Rasulullah. They don't know how to handle nobody that don't see nothing but God. America don't know how to handle nobody that will not be bought and cannot be sold. America don't know nobody that won't sell their mother out. But Iran will not be sold out, not by that leadership. now what you're going to do, they are ready to fight on. Because I read the words of Ayatollah Khomeini. He said, we are 33 million waiting to be martyred. How you going to deal with people like that? How you going to deal with Christians burning with the love of Christ, that they would be willing to go in the arena and be bitten by lions and be hung on a cross and crucified for the love of Christ and for a kingdom that they believe that they would go to? How are you going to fight people whose belief is that if I fight in the name of Allah and I am slain while I'm fighting in Allah's way, I go immediately to paradise? How are you going to fight people like that? This is the world you're living in now, brother. A world that don't give a damn for your material goods. A world that values humanity more than gold and oil. People growing up today that value principle and ethic and morals more than they value money. You ain't used to that kind of people. So they're wreaking havoc on your world. And so, as the situation heats up around the world, and white folk are being driven out all over the world as they have been bloodsuckers of the economies of the poor and the weak of the world. And as the world kicks them out and they come running back here from Iran, leaving their wealth there. When the Russians moved into Afghanistan, many whites who had comfortable living, American whites, ran back to America, leaving their comfort there. When Castro came to power, the Cubans came here, leaving their comfort there. Yes, when the Sandinistas revolted in Nicaragua, many of them rushed out of there. This has become a haven for people now who sometimes live from the unfortunate condition of the poor. But this is the day when the poor are rising up all over the world. You that are Christian, Jesus warned you of this in the scripture, that the day would come when the poor would rise. And when the poor rise, it will be like a spiritual earthquake. I don't care what you build beautiful on top of the ground. It's dependent on the stability of the earth to maintain it according to the law under which it was constructed. But when the earth moves, when the earth does a dance in an earthquake, when the earth begins to shake as though, as the Quran said, as though it had been receiving a revelation, then that mighty building begins to shake. And so it is with the poor. It is the poor that is the earth that the rich have built their world upon. And when any teaching, any dynamic philosophy, any revolutionary idea reaches the poor and the masses who have been crushed under the foot of the classes and shakes the poor, then that society begins to rock. And now America is beginning to rock. Because the poor are upset. The poor white is uptight. I like that rhyme. The poor white is uptight. And the poor black refuses to stay back. Oh yeah. It's a bad day for those who have mistreated the poor. It's a bad day. And now that America's destiny is looking at her now, she's going to fight with Russia. It's only a matter of time. This whirlpool that has started in the Middle East threatens to suck in many nations. For as I read in the paper today, the Iranian envoy said, if any country moves to help Iraq against us, we'll blow up all the oil fields in the Gulf. Where you going, white folks, with no oil? How your machinery gonna run, white folks, with no oil? How your plane's gonna fly with no oil? Somebody else got your power in their hand, white folks, and you now have to reason with the rise of people that you crushed yesterday. And in the meantime, back at the ranch, the poor black man, you use them like the earth. You spit on him, you walk on him, and you take him for granted. And all of a sudden, early one Sunday morning, he erupted. This is a message that the wise should study. Miami got a message. And the message from the black people in Miami was sent around the world. It was no lightweight signal that went up from Miami. That was a heavy message. And the message to the world was, we, the oppressed in America, have finally learned the American ethic: give me liberty or give me death. We, the crushed black people in America, have learned that taxation without representation is tyranny. We have finally come of age, and we now recognize that it is better to die fighting for the principle of freedom than to live a slave. And now that we have arrived to that glorious moment in history, at the time when America is being challenged on the outside, I say that America cannot afford to fight war on the outside and contain revolution on the inside. So the leverage now is in the hand of the black man. If you would wake up and recognize that you're not sitting in no little lightweight seat. Oh, I know a lot of people feel they're going to kill up a lot of blacks. But I want to let you in on a little secret. You better be careful how you plan against the lives of black people. I'm happy to tell you that Allah, God, the supreme ruler of the universe, has chosen this ignorant, foolish, dusty, knotty-headed, savage-acting people to be his own. And it is he who intends to fight you for the freedom of this people. He don't fight ordinary. He's not no cheap fighter. It's a long time before he come out the corner. He allow you to get out in the middle of the ring and show your stuff till you get fagged out. And then he touches you up lightly at first with the forces of nature. Look at America and see if the hand of him who controls the forces of nature is not working on America. There were 10 plagues that God sent on Pharaoh, and the last one was to kill Pharaoh's firstborn. I say, look at what is happening inside America. You're being eaten up with mosquitoes, gnats and flies and boll weevils and fire ants. Like an army of them moving up from South America. They look like they come in here too looking for something to eat. They eat up acres of land and move over cattle. God sent frost down here and snow in Miami. I imagine you must have been shook up that morning when you woke up in Miami and saw snow. You know what white folks are beginning to say? God must be a nigger lover. Because the tornadoes that are striking America, they just be dancing like women in long dresses. They seem to dance over where all the poor folk live and strike in the heart of where white folk live. Look here, brother. This ain't no joke. Leveling buildings, we ain't got no explosives. You know we don't have none. You won't even allow us to buy a gun. All your people, you give them the right to bear arms according to your Constitution. But no black fella better have no arms. No, brother. The National Rifle Association every year gets a portion of arms from the Congress, given to them, arms and ammunition. But don't no black folk receive no rifle. Have you ever gotten a rifle? I didn't think so. Have you ever gotten any free ammunition? I didn't think so. But the Ku Klux Klan is out in the bushes training now with automatic weapons. Where did they get them from? You see, white folks look out for their own, but I want to warn you that there's a scripture in the Bible that says, since you delighted in shedding the blood of the innocent, that God would give you your own blood to drink, and you would be drunk with your own blood as with sweet wine. That's why I ask you to be careful how you plan against these. Because as you arm to kill them, God have a way of moving them right on out of the way and moving you to hatred of your own self and your own government and make you clash against yourself. And as the scriptures say, if Satan cast out Satan, how then can his kingdom stand? Look out, brother and sister. Look now. Look at the heat that bore down on America for 100 days. Revelation, I think it's the 16th chapter, talks about how God would order the sun to bear down. Here the sun got so many sunspots on it. And the sun is belching out flames of fire from 10 to 30,000 miles from her surface. All of this is written in the Bible. There would be signs in the sun, in the moon, and in the stars. And on the earth, waves are perplexing, waves roaring, and men's hearts failing them with fear for what they see coming. And don't you see today that as that sun began to bear down, I mean, white folks who are farmers, who spent so much time robbing black folk of their land, taking land from innocent black people because of tax fraud, or just taking it. Just taking it. In Florida, in Louisiana, in Alabama, in Mississippi, in Texas. Now to God who see all this, the sun bear down on the land that you stole from the Indian, from the Mexican, or somebody else. And the fire just have your corn just leave. The cattle out there gritting its teeth up at the sun, looking for water. The fish stinking on the banks. The little lakes dried up. 100 days of 100-degree heat. Streets cracking and buckling. The toll into the billions of dollars. Think it over. In the meanwhile, rain in other parts so heavy till it creates floods. And you ain't seen nothing yet. Check out this winter. It's gonna be a monster. And there's something coming, brothers and sisters, I got to tell you. Earthquakes that will level your fine city. Oh, a lot of us are gonna die. Oh yeah. But hell, we can die happy. You know what I mean? Because I know that the master who gave me hell is dying too. You in the day of God. Now all these battles getting ready to be fought, and inside the country, you erupt. What do you think they're thinking? Federal government sent some money in, but you didn't get any. Jimmy Carter came down here smiling and grinning. And for the first time in history, has an American president had bottles and bricks thrown at him. Look, man, when the great white president comes along, all of us stand by cheesing. Not that day. Now look, brother, that's a sign for the wise to look at. It wasn't old folks throwing them bottles. No, old folks, they kind of sort of. But it's these young bloods. They tossing the bottles. Why are they tossing the bottles? You say they just out there having fun? See, that's the way they try to play it off in the news. But you know why they throwing bottles? Because they are a generation born to fulfill the promise. You are a generation of hope, the older ones. This is the generation of fulfillment. And hope don't look like fulfillment. And fulfillment don't look like hope. I may hope to get something, and I dream about it. But the one who gets it, he ain't hoping. He got it. We have hope for freedom, long for freedom, but at last we produce a generation that's born to embrace it. And if you notice our young people, they're unafraid. That's a characteristic of the new generation. You can't frighten them. White folks walk out there with their tanks and say, "What's that, baby?" I mean, you think they're crazy. But that's what fearlessness looks like. It looks like insanity to a coward. But the Sandinistas were young boys and girls in Nicaragua. Young boys and girls in Costa Rica. Young boys and girls all over the world rising up against old God, Uncle Tom, who sell out the future of their people to the imperialist powers. They're saying in Washington, if these niggers do this in other cities, we're in trouble. There's no doubt that we can put down their rebellion. But God, in the face of the world, after these people have been oppressed so long, how can we tell the dark people all over the world and their kith and kin in Africa and in the Caribbean that they were looters and shooters? When they study at Tamiami, and one day we mistook one of the Africans for one of our niggers and beat his head. And he wrote back to his tribe and told them, "I got these hickeys from a Miami policeman who thought I was a Negro." Well, your people all over the world feel your pain today. They know your condition is terrible, but they feel your pain. And believe me, America can't justifiably just mow you down. But they will do it, though. But they don't have no conscience when they get to a certain level, brother. Don't look for world opinion to stop them. They have planned to destroy us as subtly as they can. Send you little chemicals in the water that sort of tamper with you mentally and work on you genetically and your productive organs. Sisters, you keep on taking your pills. Though they know the pill isn't safe, they put the pill on you so that whenever you do decide to have a child, your womb and the walls of your uterus are so weakened by these chemicals, you can't even hold on to the baby that you desire to have. All because he has made us a lust-filled people with no willpower to control ourselves. It is a shame to see that in every black community there's an abortion factory, where if you go in there you see black women flushing their babies out. I mean, just in rivers, killing your future and the future of us as a people. I'm telling you, it's sad. The cream of our young girls, as it is written in the Bible and Holy Quran, Pharaoh said, because of the multiplication of Israel, come on and let's deal wisely with them, lest they multiply and join on to an enemy of ours and come against us. And the plan that Pharaoh had was to kill all boy babies and spare the female. That plan is in vogue right now in the United States. Kill the male, spare the female. How are you spared, little sisters? Have you noticed right now, even though you are very young, you are smarter than most of the men your age and a little older? The men your age can't command your respect. Old men are more attractive to you as a young woman than men your own age or near your age, because they have nothing to offer. Many of you young men, your IQ was very brilliant when you were young. And the older you got, the dumber you got. Not by accident, but by design. How many of you remember, go back in your mind and remember when you were in grade school, there were many young boys and girls smarter than you and me. And they're dead now. Or they're in prison now. There's something in the educational system and in the social order that cuts off the cream of our crop. And you and I represent the mediocre thinkers. And then they bring you here to these colleges and universities and seduce you. Put a white girl on you. Come right around you quickly. Hello, Sam. I grew up in another part of Miami. I didn't have a chance to be around no Negroes. I mean colored people. I mean blacks. I mean Bilalians. I mean, what the hell should I call them? Before you know it, you talking to a real sweet. Before you know it, you on the campus with her on one arm, you on the other, and there go black and white together, Martin Luther King's dream. You strolling down the boulevard, you don't want to see which way the black sister went. And on the other side of that fence, this black woman can't get a decent conversation out of a black man. Every man she talked to is trying to get in her clothes. Nobody talks to her like she's a human being. Nobody talks to her like she's a serious creature of God who demands more out of a man than some bedroom, huh? So she turned off by her own black man. And then the white boy comes and he talks to us respectfully. Hello, Sadie. And at last, Sadie can have a decent conversation, but he got the same aim in mind, he's just more sophisticated. Then before you know it, you and the white boy, he and the white girl, you're all walking down the street, and somebody's saying, hey brother, the black man got to do something for himself later for that kind of racist talk. Got your white girl, and you trucking. Poor little sister, she got her white man, and she's saying, listen, where would we be without white people? After all, it's them that's giving us the jobs and all, you know. Somebody got to give you some sense, you hear me? Look, brother, you leave the white girl alone. God give her to the white boy, you let them go together. You come on home and get your woman and make peace between you and your black woman. Because if you don't make peace with her and she's a part of you and you're constantly at odds fighting each other, you can't produce offspring that are peaceful and that are strong and creative. You produce what you are. And if the tree is corrupt, the fruit thereof is also corrupt. Now I'm going to leave you. Brothers and sisters, reality says that black people have to do for themselves. Reality says you cannot ask others to love you if you refuse to love one another. Reality says you get no respect from no one until and unless you respect yourself. And reality says you cannot love yourself and respect yourself until you know yourself. And that's why history has to be taught and must be required for all black students to have a knowledge of your own history and your accomplishments to the advancement of civilization. Because until you know what was, you don't know what is, and you're not prepared for what is to be. And until you know what you were, you don't know what you're capable of becoming. And that's why you must study your history. Don't bring black students into college and teach them European history. We already appreciate Europe's contribution. We already appreciate the Chinese contribution. We already appreciate the Japanese and the Near Eastern people's contribution, the Semitic people's contribution. But where we fail is to appreciate our own contribution to civilization. And when others know what we have contributed, they can look at us and say, well, there's hope in them. If they were directed properly, that they would do it again. That's right. Your fathers built the pyramids, you can do it again. That's right. Oh, yeah. It is not enough to point to what we used to do. It is better to point to that and then let's start doing right now. But where we fail is to appreciate our own contribution to civilization. And when others know what we have contributed, they can look at us and say, well, there's hope in them. If they were directed properly, that they would do it again.
That's right.
Your fathers built the pyramids, you can do it again.
That's right. Oh, yeah.
It is not enough to point to what we used to do. It is better to point to that and then let's start doing right now. As long as America remains America, you should not stay in Miami and let the Cubans have 20 banks and you have not one bank that is your own and you make money in Miami. You should have banks. You should have schools that you control. You should have hospitals. You should have farms. You should be feeding yourself just like the Cubans have Havana peas. And some Spanish name, you know, they grow their own chicken, they grow their own corn, they're trying to be self-sufficient. You must take a lesson from people who are advancing themselves and follow suit in unity. But there's too much envy and jealousy, too much tribalism. I ain't talking to that brother over there. That brother, he from the West Indies. I don't have no West Indian friend. I don't want to talk to that nigga over there. He from Africa, man. I ain't lost nothing over there. See how foolish you sound? And the brother from the Caribbean said, man, I don't know what the hell happening to these people here. I try to talk to these American people and they won't listen to all, you know. And we laughing at each other, mocking each other. Don't you know we are flesh of each other's flesh? How could you call him a West Indian and don't want nothing to do with him? Call this brother an African, you don't want nothing to do with him. Your fathers came from Africa and dropped off in the Caribbean. And many left the Caribbean coming here after they were broken in the Caribbean. That's your brother. You are brothers. Why shouldn't you act like brothers and reach out to your Haitian brother? Reach out to your brother from Cuba, your brother from everywhere. If he look like you, that's you. Get to know your brother. I want to say to those of us who came up in the Caribbean, be careful. Because the Spanish, the French, the Dutch, the English, they all, and the Portuguese too, yeah? They all had their hand in the Caribbean. Right? In the Caribbean, there are mixtures of blacks, Indians, right? And whites. Is that right? Yeah, there's some Chinese that came lately too. The majority of Cuba is black. They are the root of Cuba. I was there. I saw in the youth parade, I saw who was making the music. I saw who was making the dance. Same ones who make the music here. I saw my English-speaking brother who had been enslaved by the British in the Caribbean. And I saw my brother enslaved by the French. And I saw my brother enslaved by the Spanish, and they can't get along, you know. I don't want to talk to no Puerto Rican man. You think I want nothing to do with them Haitian people? That man from Small Island. That man from Trinidad. That man from Jamaica, man. You ain't talking. Look at how you divided by islands, and you the same people. So you let the French hatred of the Spanish and the English hatred of the French got us all divided because they put their own tribal hatreds right into the people that they colonized. And we're suffering from all of that madness today. Beloved brothers, sisters, I believe in integration. But I believe in a special kind of integration. Since in the word integration is the mathematical term integer, and an integer is a whole number, and the whole is equal to the sum of its parts. Says I'm a part of you and you're a part of me. And whether we're in the Caribbean or Africa or Brazil or Australia or the Isles of the Pacific, we are a part. And since we are a part and the whole is equal to the sum of its parts, possessive. You got to belong to in order to be a part of. And since we belong to one another, only we can integrate with one another. And when we integrate and become whole, and to be a whole means that you must find. You first must reduce the fraction to its lowest terms. And I think that has already been done. Will you not agree? And after you reduce the fraction to its lowest terms, you find the least common denominator. And then you take a fraction and you make a whole. We must find the least common denominator among us. And no matter where we are, in America, in the Caribbean, or in Africa, the least common denominator is that we are an oppressed people wherever we are. And we are in need of liberation. All of us are black. And all of us are disliked by and because of our blackness and our non-productivity with that blackness. Let us take our blackness then as a common denominator. Let us take our oppression as a common denominator and find respect for one another so that we can integrate and become a whole. And if we become a whole people, a whole nation, we can then leverage that power to move the oppressor ever backward until there is no more oppression or tyranny to be found anywhere on the earth. That's the integration we should be singing about. In order to get that, we got to overcome our hang-ups. Our hang-ups on hair. Our hang-ups on our own differences in color. Our hang-ups on where we came from. Our hang-ups on our degree. Our hang-ups on our course of study. Our hang-ups on where we live. I live in this Gables or that Gables, and I have a house, over there, and I drive a Mercedes-Benz. I don't care what you drive. You are a Negro or nigger in a Mercedes-Benz, an educated slave with a great degree, but you can't rise no higher than the condition of your people. And as long as your people are nothing, you are nothing. So you who think you're something, you must take upon you the burden of your suffering people and use your knowledge to lift the whole up, so that when we are lifted up as a whole, the world will say, as they once said, the black man gave civilization to the world, and it looks like now he's coming up out of savagery to return the world to human principles again. May God bless you, keep you. I thank you.